All right, welcome back to the KFYR Plus News Desk. And today I am joined by Dr. Christine Silverstein, author of Wrestling Through Adversity. Her groundbreaking work challenges outdated mental health models and explores how resilience, empathy, and emotional mastery can transform lives, especially for youth facing today's mental health crisis. Dr. Silverstein, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Oh, okay, we can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me?
No.
And not
It's just a
seeing
big
me, Jeff.
picture of me.
I can't see. I really have to move over.
There we go.
Okay. There I am.
Perfect. There we go. All right, Dr. Silverstein. Let's. What inspired you to write Wrestling Through Adversity?
Well, it had to do with my children. I have four children, and
Mm-hmm.
years before I wrote it, they were teenagers and preteens, and they had many issues with sports, with school, with social situations, and with grades. And I realized that there was no one to bring them to help them to help themselves. I wanted them to have skill sets that they could use. And I didn't think it required something like going to a psychologist, although I did go to one with one of my children, and he told me that I was the one who needed therapy. So I decided to make my own program since I was a peak performance coach. And I taught my children these things, the basic elements, when they were younger, and they succeeded. So then I took these ideas to other people, other teams. I work with a lot of wrestlers, and I took it to the team and also baseball and sports, performing
Mm-hmm.
artists that I work with. And I realized that there is something parents can do. But when COVID came around and parents were isolated and the children were isolated, and we had our emergency rooms filled with teenagers who had suicidal ideation, I knew it was time to write my book about it because I had years' experience as a peak performance coach. And I developed these mindsets, I call them mindful toughness skill sets, where you can implement them. They're portable. You can bring them from situation to situation. And also, you can use them on the wrestling mat and later on in the boardroom because you can bring them through life. It's the promotion of mental health rather than just focusing on the mental health issues that teenagers and young people are having these days. And it's been very successful because parents want to know what to do, but it does start with them to look at
Mm-hmm.
themselves and review their traumas and also learn these techniques so that they can start even in very young, even in infancy, to start talking in a positive way to help them to use their imaginations to see what they can accomplish and then move towards that in their lives very early on. So I'm a
Well,
proponent of that and also for a change in the mental health paradigm since it's not working for us and we have very low funding and no appetite really for dealing with drug abuse and having no solution except Narcan that you can uh, prevent a suicide.
sure.
So it's time for us to take charge.
Why did you believe that you were qualified to write a book on how to build resilience in adults so that they could help their young people to help themselves overcome trauma and grow?
Because I had many challenges in my life. One of them started when I wanted to have children many years ago when I was first married, and I had four miscarriages. And during that time, it was very stressful. And I sought help because I went to this physician. He told me I needed to take a very dangerous drug, DES, diethylstilbestrol, if I wanted to have babies. And I decided, no, that causes cancer in children and offspring, and that wouldn't be good for the future of my children. So I didn't take the drug and I learned self hypnosis. I learned meditation, and that helped me through. Without any other treatment, I was able to have four healthy babies. And so
Okay.
I took those same skills. That was my daily practice after that. meditation, getting in the zone. And I called it getting in the zone rather than meditation in that sense. But you can be mindful of what you're doing, especially when you're working with sports or performing artists who need to, as soon as they walk on the stage or the playing field, they need to be focused on what they have to do to win. So that's how I started. And I'm also a registered nurse. I work with mental health. And I had been a peak performance coach for many years. So I had many case stories that I wrote about in my book, actually, and how I helped the young people to achieve success.
Dr. Silverstein, the title is pretty powerful. What does wrestling through adversity mean to you?
Well, what it means to me is, and it's a metaphor, of course, for how we get through life. And just on the radio this morning, I heard about wrestling through adversity by the person, the journalist speaking. But it's a metaphor to how to get through life's challenges and to see them as a way to build resilience, especially in children. We need to have resilient children these days because they need to bounce back from many different situations like school shootings and wars and violence that we have in this country. So wrestling through it means that you work with issues. Say the first day of school, your child is bullied. So what does that child do? Or do you move in to protect that child and not give them an opportunity to work through it? So in my program, I use a feedback loop. So what happened? How did you feel? What did you think? And what can you do tomorrow when you go to school and really support yourself to achieve your goals and to feel good about yourself? So it's not just about preventing your children, protecting them from trauma, but to help them through it because it's inevitable that we'll have trauma in our lives, especially these days.
How is your book different from other parenting books?
Well, it's very different in that I'm a coach. And I look at it from not from the perspective of therapy per se, but through coaching. So coaching
Mhm.
is quite different, where I give them the tools, say the young people, whether they're a little boy that I worked with years ago, 7 years old. His teacher said that something's wrong with him. He needs to have ADD medicine. And the mother was adamant that her son was very talented and gifted in making robots, and he was 7 years old. So I helped him not only to feel good about himself, do better in math, but to score and in a gym soccer game when nobody ever picked him to be on the team to begin with. So that's how it's different. It's not about giving medication. It's not about long-term therapy. It's about adjusting to what is your goal and how can I help you to achieve that? So that's quite different. And I do work with therapists, but I'm a coach and a registered nurse.
You describe a wake up call for society. What do you see as the biggest failure in our current mental health system?
Well, the biggest failure that I see is that we have an antiquated system. We have the mind and body is separate, and that's a 17th century concept by Descartes, presented by Descartes. So we need to combine the mind and body. It's about time. And also, we need to look at ourselves from the perspective of what can we do to help our children and work as a community. And people aren't aware that there even is a mental health crisis unless your child has a problem, um, tried to commit suicide or has anxieties, and then you become aware of it. But we have this issue. We've had it long before COVID, but it was exacerbated by COVID.
What is
So we
mindful
need changes.
toughness? What is mindful toughness, and how do you teach it to help clients get in the zone, as you mentioned earlier?
Well, I teach them self-hypnosis, which entails learning how to breathe, especially when I'm working with athletes or performing artists, learning how to breathe, calm yourself down, access the sympathetic nervous, the autonomic nervous system, so you can slow yourself down rather than speed yourself up. And it can be done automatically by deep breathing. I call it breathing easy. I use mental rehearsal so you can rehearse your performance beforehand. And that could be even passing a test at school. And then I teach how to use mental recall, which is a very positive experience where you look at your past, where you achieved, and then you bring it forward into the present moment. It's a very effective for athletes. And also I use positive self-talk. which we are conditioned to speak in a very negative way to ourselves from early childhood. So we need to help the parents to help their children to be positive in what they say rather than negative. And by the way, children pick up everything from their parents. They are born with mirror neurons and they follow everything, even their speech cadence, what they know, whether their parents are empathetic or not, they'll pick that up as well. So we need to be very careful how we work with our children. And as I said, as early as possible, although it's never too late. I've worked with clients who are in the 90s and they're making changes in themselves and the way they think about themselves. So it's not just for children, but it's very important to start early.
You emphasize emotional mastery and empathy. How can parents and educators help young people develop these skills?
Well, I work with educators. My doctorate from Columbia is in education. And so you teach them what they need to know and listen to them. What are they saying to you? Put yourself in your children's shoes. We very seldom do that. We only look at things from the adult perspective. And especially it's true for teenagers because we look at them and say, look what they're doing and look how they're getting involved in this or that. And look, they had a car accident. What's wrong with them? When they're not adults. Teenagers are not adults and they're not children either. They're in between. So we have to look at them from the perspective of helping them to grow because on their 18th birthday, they become adults and they don't know what to do. So we need to put ourselves, how do you feel? How do you feel when there's a school shooting or when there's a shooting in the bowling alley, like in Maine a couple of years ago? How is it that you feel? And what can I do to help you to overcome this so that you bounce back despite the fact that you were in this tragedy. So it's very common that we do not put ourselves in our children's shoes. I see that all the time with parents of athletes.
Doctor, we'll wrap things up with this. What practical steps can everyday people take to support mental health, well-being in their own circle?
Well, they can support themselves, first of all, to be kind to themselves, because we have issues now with jobs. We have issues with, can I afford living, my everyday living? Can I afford to buy food? So we need to look at our own issues and help ourselves and look back, I would say, the main thing to our traumas, the traumas that we've had, and heal them by using these simple steps I call looking back to the future. And I work with clients all the time, sometimes in a very deep way, even young athletes, and sometimes in a superficial way, just to be aware. I had this trauma when I was 8 years old. I had my tonsils out, and now when I'm on the wrestling mat and I'm in the finals, I can't breathe. And so it's related, going back to when you were 8 years old. And I help my clients realize that and overcome it. So you look at yourselves, then you learn what to do. These mindful toughness skill sets are very helpful. Breathing easy, mental rehearsal, mental recall, positive self-talk, and feedback loop analysis. And you can learn them yourselves and then teach them to your children. And they are all listed in my book in chapter 5, along with other aspects of mental health promotion.
Dr. Christine Silverstein, author of Wrestling Through Adversity. The book is available now wherever you find your favorite books. Thank you for your time, Dr. Silverstein. I sure appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. And by the way, it came out in Arabic just yesterday. So I want
Wow.
the readers to know that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Have yourself a great day, all right?
Thank you very much.
All right, 14 minutes now past the hour. Let's take a break. We'll come right back with some of the day's top news stories next on KFYR Plus.